Welcome back to video number 2. If you haven't checked out the first video, which is 3 top tips for learning how to play Native American style flutes, then please backtrack and see that. Hopefully you're following that advice. Those who have watched that video already, you're keeping your flute somewhere accessible in front of you and somewhere you walk past, and you're picking it up and you're following all those other little gems of advice that I've followed myself over the past 4 or 5 years. So here we are. We're going to cover today a pop and a hop and a flutter. So 3 really crucial parts and basic parts of the jazzy little tricks and whistles that you can apply to your own flute playing from the early stages. Really, I am aware that I didn't go through the basic scale. I'm on a 5-hole flute here today, so I'm just going to run through the basic scale for those people who haven't yet looked that up for themselves and they've just received their first flute or something like that. It's really easy. The main thing to remember with the Native American style flutes, or whether it be a 5-hole or a 6-hole, this is a 5-hole flute. You'll already be aware, no doubt, if you have a 6-hole flute, just to keep the hole here covered at all times for now. And as these lessons progress, we'll get on to how we can implement that 3rd or 6th hole. So anyway, minor pentatonic scale, really easy. The basic rule is always, whatever note that you're playing, everything beneath that should also be open and everything above that should be closed. So we don't, for example, we wouldn't play this or we wouldn't play that. So if we're playing this note, then this one also must be shut. So when we're playing this note, everything below it should be open, everything above it should be closed. So that's the basic rule, and the skill goes like this. And that is what to practice until you can do it. Just play around with that a little bit. Maybe you can do that until you can complete the whole scale in one breath. Then try pausing at the top like I did. And just really get used to applying a different pressure to each note. This gets more and more crucial when you do get a little bit more advanced and intermediate kind of level, is delivering the correct amount of breath for each hole, because it is slightly different. And the bigger you go on your flute size, and the deeper the key or the note of the flute is, then yeah, the more crucial that becomes as well. So you can play, a good exercise for that is to just play with each note on every part of the scale, and see what's the gentlest that you can blow, because it will sound pretty awful until you're blowing hard enough, and then when you're blowing too hard, it again will sound pretty awful. I'll do a quick demo here on one of the keys, one of the notes, but it's a good exercise to do throughout the whole of your flute. So let's choose this note here, blowing as softly as possible. It's just not even registering properly. So until you're blowing hard enough, it won't really resonate throughout the flute. So there we've got a nice solid tone in the middle, the sweet spot. And if we start at the bottom again, work up until it's the sweet spot, and then we go too far with the breath, I'll demonstrate what that will also sound like. You can beginning to jump octave, beginning to squeak, beginning to feel, you can feel it when you're playing as well, it's pressurized. So learning that for each note makes you realize when to back off, especially when you're jumping 3 notes at a time and you're popping and whistling and landing. It becomes good practice to know. So don't worry about everything that I've just said for now. But it's if you're struggling to make a good sound throughout the entirety of your skill practice, then yeah, that's a worthy exercise. I'll do it one more time on the bottom note because that's the easiest ones to overblow. Too much breath. Or sometimes when you're at the top note, maybe you're not delivering enough breath, because that's the biggest difference. If it's easy to underblow when all holes are open, it needs more assertiveness, but you can't deliver that same velocity to the bottom note. There we go. And it's just starting to squeal. So yeah, a good worthy exercise. Right, so what is a pop? A pop is a singular flutter. So a flutter, let's start with a flutter because it's easy. A flutter, you come up and down on each note. The same, again, like I said, the best bit of advice is to practice this on each throughout the whole scale and find out which of your fingers actually has the most dexterity that you can deliver your best flutter on. Then you have some homework to do and practice on the other fingers so that you might be able to flutter on any of the notes that you like at any one moment of time throughout your improvised playing. But also, you know, you're strongest if you just want to deliver the best. So you'll end up at these different positions. I probably favour this finger, so the top finger on my second hand, lower hand, and I imagine the top one as well. So a flutter is simply lifting and replacing your finger, but quite quickly so that you get this kind of effect. So you can see there, I was playing with the velocity of my breath within the sweet spot. I was just dropping the breath and re-engaging with it slightly, just so that it gave it another, what's the word? Dynamic. We'll go with that. So there's me beginning to implement the flutter within some improvised flute playing there. So that is how to do the flutter. I would practice that on every finger, find out which one works best for you. And then just, again, you can also, you can play with the breath as well, like I did. Now, a pop is a singular flutter. So a pop can go a couple of different ways to play a pop. You can pop on the note that you're playing. So you would just lift the lowest finger on the actual note that you're playing, just lift and recover the whole. The idea here is not to be too tense, but you believe it or not, the more relaxed you are, the quicker that you can do these things. And it does take a bit of practice because we're trying to really nail it when we're at first, but as you progress again, you'll relax more and you're able to just pop gently. So we'll do that one first. Alternatively, you'll get a different sound if you pop with the finger above the note that you're playing. And I'll demonstrate how different that can sound. It's louder, it's got a slightly different tone to it, it's a bit sharper as well. So obviously, because it's up the scale further, it has a slightly different effect. So again, you can do that with any note. That's the fundamental, the lowest note that the flute plays, all closed, and so you can still pop by lifting one of the top, the higher. You will find the more holes you have closed, if you try and then pop with here, it won't work very well if you're playing a lower note. You have to follow the sound of the flute a little bit with this one. That's why it's easier for now just to stick with whichever note you're playing. and do your pops there, but you'll soon know when you start to lift off with the fingers that are above the note that you're playing, that you have to some degree follow where you are on the flute, because the change in pressure, if you start lifting off here when you've got all fingers closed, the flute just won't thank you for it. There's too much of a change in pressure within the chamber, and you'll end up sounding pretty awful. So that's not what we want. That's not what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. So how do we pop and hop? And what the heck am I talking about when I say pop and hop? So to pop and hop is purely you're going to pop and you're going to land on a different note than you initiated that move from. So let me demonstrate. There you go, lovely, huh? So it's really, really simple. I would start with the first, just pop with one finger and above. And when you're feeling ready, then you can just start landing on a different note. So it's quite a quick move. And that's what a pop and a hop is in my book. So there we are. We have how to flutter, how to pop, and how to pop and a hop. So all together we've done a flutter, a pop and a hop. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you've got something from that. Please do comment and let me know whether I'm going too quickly or whether I'm including too much in each tutorial, or whether I'm including not enough. Let me know how I can improve these little tutorials for you. Again, at least for now, they're aimed at people that are picking up flute for the first time, or have just had a flute for a couple of months or so, or need to re-engage with their flute and put more practice in. These are just easy steps. The idea of me asking all of the time for you to include whatever tips and tricks that I give into your skill is so that you can learn them, to deploy them when you're playing improvised music. So just in flow and making it up as you go along. That's what we call improvised flute playing. So if you've practiced each pop, trick, whistle, flutter and everything throughout the whole skill, then you're adept already at just deploying them as and when, no matter where you are in the flute. And another little trick would be, we've all got a little thing that we resort to. We'll try something new and then we resort to our own little phrase that we have. And it might be like a 3 or 4 notes in succession and we always play them in the same order, and it's just something that we've latched onto that sounds great, so we keep playing it. Maybe you can implement any of your new tricks that you find from these videos and incorporate it within that, or stick it on the end of that, so you're beginning to extend it, or at the beginning or whatever. So at the beginning and the end, and just play around with adding just a little bit each time. Or when you're ready for the next move and or the next trick, then yeah, just add it to the basic scale so you can play it throughout the flute, and add it to whatever your improv already is. There you go. I think I waffled on quite long enough for one video. Yeah, again, let me know how these videos are coming across. Love to hear from you. Lots of love, and enjoy playing your flute. Thank you so much.